Hi, I'm Seth from profilprog.com. I'm glad and lucky to welcome you on board, Steve Babb from Glass Hammer. Of course, we will talk about music and especially your brand new album. But first of all, how are you doing?
Doing great. It's a beautiful day in Tennessee, or at least my part of it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You now return with SKALLAGRIM into the Bridge, part 2 of last year's Dreaming City, correct? Um,
Yes.
how did you make it possible to record such a good album in just 1 year?
Well, Fred and I run a recording studio that's a full-time job. So we're in there a minimum, well, usually 5 to 6 days a week. That's part of the reason why we can do it. Um, and then I think, usually we'll do an album and maybe kind of rest our minds for about 8 to 12 weeks, and by that time we're already writing. And as soon as we're writing, we're polishing, and right after that, we're going to record. So, and I do try to have one maybe at least once a year for a year and a half. So, and I try to do fall and spring. So that's we shot for the fall, and the next one maybe it's the spring of 2023, or maybe we'll get one out by the fall. So I don't know yet, but we're pretty fast.
And what would be your secret for inspiration?
Well, that's a hard one to explain. The story, of course, that I'm working on now has been percolating in my brain for a couple of years. So, as far as writing lyrics and a concept goes, that's already kind of mapped out in my mind. And but then Fred and I will listen to different bands over the course of months and listen to different music or watch different movies. And at some point, ideas for music start to kind of take precedence, I guess, in our writing, and he'll write a song or I'll write a song. We show it to each other, and we kind of off we go. So he inspires me, I inspire him. But it's not hard to find it.
Okay, all this is based on a novel you're about to release next year. What can you tell us about it, and who is SKALLAGRIM for the people who didn't know about it?
Well, so I'll answer that last part first. Scallagrim is a character that began in my mind as kind of a solitary loner sword and sorcery uh, anti-hero. And so it's a guy I think most guys could relate to, as far as he's a very flawed individual. He has lots of fear, he has lots of uncertainty, but he's lost his lover, and she's been stolen, and he's lost his memory. So he's got a terrible he's in a terrible crisis and set in a very savage world. And then Scallagrim became so important to me as a character. I finally sat down and started writing a book right about the time the lockdown started, and we're just wrapping it up now. It's almost 400-page novel. It's just book one. So he's moved from the albums into fantasy literature, and that's something I'm really excited about. And so the next album. Oh, well, let me talk a little bit about story arcs. I kind of like the way
Hmm.
movies are presented, or characters even, where there's an arc. The character may start out in one frame of mind, and he ends up in a different kind of person at the end. And I view the albums in the same way. We kind of started with Dreaming City, just trying a lot of different things, but the heavy, I guess, metal uh, sort of became, well, our fans liked it, and we liked doing it. So we made this album a lot more, a lot heavier. And part of that's because the story can tolerate it. We're talking about a guy with a sword having to kill monsters and evil sorcerers. So, metal seems to be the way to go. However, if we're going to wrap it up, it has to go somewhere musically. So I would like to say that On the third installment, you're probably going to still hear a lot of heavy music from us, but it should start to form into something new, which we have dabbled in the past, but something I would say on a more epic, grandiose sort of sound. We're really into movie soundtracks and love listening to those. So it could go into some very orchestrated, just some interesting stuff. Either way, it has to change, and that's important to us.
Are you like good wine? Do you become better and better with time?
You know, it. I don't want to seem obnoxious by saying yes, but if you go back over the albums of 25 years of Glass Hammer, I see a progression as far as our songwriting goes and our ability to record it. And, we did some big albums, 10, 12 years ago, 20 years ago, but I think we sound better. I like us now more than I did before. So I guess that's really for fans to decide. But I'm enjoying it. If I thought we were going backwards, I'd probably stop.
You just told it, this is clearly the heaviest and angriest album so far. It is linked to the novel or just a musical mood, the way you wanted to make music?
I'll say the latter because it was clear to me as soon as I started writing the book that the character could not be so black and white. So like if you're opening the booklet to Dreaming City or Into the Breach, you're going to see some drawings, which I love, but it's more like a graphic novel, almost like a Conan the Barbarian kind of look, and the character in the book is a lot different than that. He's just 22 years old, and he's facing a lot of what's a deeper story than I've been able to do on the album. But the albums are just, it's very hard. You can't do an exact interpretation of a novel in the course of 60 or 70 minutes. So I did definitely have to make some departures.
How is the feedback from the fans so far?
Well, excellent. I'm not sure if we lost any fans because, we are certainly heavier, less symphonic than before. That could have happened, but all that I'm hearing and then reading it's really positive. People feel like we've turned another corner, and there's been lots of corners for Glass Hammer, but tons of great YouTube comments on the videos, lots of email. Everybody's telling me that we should keep going this direction. So that's another reason why we won't alter it too much for that third installment of our trilogy. And we probably will always have some sort of an edge to our sound from here on out. That's just a guess. It's hard to say, but we are enjoying it immensely.
And what do you think of the result? Would it be the one of your best creation?
Do I think this one is?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that every time we put out an album, because we're all very excited when those albums come out, and for the next 7 months, I'm like, this is the greatest thing we ever did. And most bands are like that. If you didn't feel that way, you probably wouldn't put it out. So, I'm right now. I think this is the best we've ever done.
And what is also remarkable is the addition of a new singer, Anna Prayer. I think she brings a lot to the band. What do you think? And how did she join the band?
Yes, so Hannah Pryor lives near us. That's the first thing that was very helpful to us, because if you know our history, frequently we've been spread out all over the country, and so it's hard to do albums together unless we're kind of mailing in the parts, and that isn't the best way to do it. So we were hoping we would find somebody local, be it a guy or a girl, and Hannah came to our studio on another project that we produced, and we had been told in advance that we're going to love her voice, and we did, and I asked her to come in and do a demo with me, and she did. That ended up being the anthem to Anderath. It was written just for her try out with Glass Hammer, and then she just kind of she just blended in with us so well. She's got a great personality. She came, for weeks. She would come in and work on the songs with us, which we haven't had that luxury before. So it's just a really great experience to meet her, and she's really, really good girl.
And what about the new musicians on these albums? Can you have a word about them?
Yes, well, now Brian Brewer and Reese Boyd have both appeared on albums, maybe at least the last 4 together. Brian's only on the one song, I think it's The Writing on the Wall, but he's been a session player at our studio for at least 15 years. So we're good friends. And then Reese is from Atlanta, which isn't too far from us, and we met him through some prog fans in Atlanta. And he's like I call him a prodigy. He first came here when he was 17 or 18, and he's only 20 now. And just a phenomenal guitarist. He sang quite a bit on the last album too. So he's just, we're lucky to have both of those guys.
You are a lucky guy
Yes.
to have those musicians.
Yes, yeah. So many of the people that have appeared on Glass Hammer albums over the years are people that walked in the studio door to do one thing, and ended up kind of we'd grab them and push them into our band, or at least into our projects, and so that's been a good thing. We wouldn't have met half these people without the studio.
You will celebrate your 30th anniversary next year.
Yes.
What will be your best memories, and what impressed you the most over all these years?
Memories are going to tend to be things where we don't do a lot of shows. So when we do, they're all very special. It's either edge of your seat kind of stuff where we haven't played in a year and the whole thing could explode, or they've just been very memorable where we get to meet our fans. So I go back to the first significant one would have been Nearfest 2003, in which we had our first choir on stage with us. We had Rich Williams from Kansas. We played to, a huge crowd, and I'll never forget the feeling of when that curtain went up. We stood behind a curtain, and I knew how big it was, but you just can't prepare yourself for that. And we met a lot of people those shows, and we just put out live at Nearfest as a download on our website. In fact, I just got it up there yesterday, so it's been out of print for years as an album. But yeah, that would be a big one to me, and it's sad that was way back in 2003, and there's been lots of memories since, but that's a special one to me.
And what would be your best meeting?
Our best what?
Meeting with people.
Oh, meeting? Well, doing big shows, we not only got to meet fans, and it's so strange because you talk to people over the internet for years or through emails, and then finally you put a face to it and you meet these people, and that's a great experience. But we've also got to meet some of our own heroes. I remember how surreal it was to me when I found myself in a conversation with Annie Haslam from Renaissance and Roger Dean. We're just standing in a corner talking about stuff we all were interested in, and halfway through the conversation, my brain kind of cut off for a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people have been a part of my life since I was a kid, literally. So that's been a perk, is getting to meet some of these people, and get all the guys from Yes, and just tons of great bands. It's been a good experience.
And what are the plans for the future?
Well, we're scheduled for Cruise to the Edge 2022. That's the only live appearance we have uh, on the books. If that happens and there's not some sort of, you know, issue with cruises by then, you will probably do some other shows. But right now, you know, we're kind of we're just coasting. We just got the album done. I'm busy promoting it, trying to get that book out. And so we're not really thinking ahead too much. Fred and I, we talk every day. And I imagine some ideas will start to come up for music. And then we get really excited about that. It's hard in the studio to not just get happy about being in the studio. It's just a place where you can make magic. Whereas playing live, you know, it can go good or it can go bad, and it's hard work. So we're happy about all of it. Though.
This is the end. Would you like to add something for your fans? A final word?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm a relentless promoter. I have to be. So definitely want to, you know, if you didn't get, I would go for those last two albums. Make sure that you guys have Dreaming City and our newest one, Into the Breach. And, you know, we're happy we have fans. We appreciate you and are really thankful for the support. And you too.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Steve. It was great to talk to you. Thanks for your time and answer. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.